Hello everyone, welcome. It's a special stream here today. We're going to be covering some big questions, some big topics. We are going to get it underway. But without further ado, quick introduction to everyone who's here for the first time in, 9 months, I want to say. We finally managed to pry Mod Osborne.
I was wondering if you'd make it a big thing. Oh man.
Of course I'm going to make it a big thing.
Yeah, it still exists.
Yes.
I've not been, I don't know.
Look at the chat. Look.
Tucked out, roasted. I've just been eating. That's mainly what I've been doing. Just slowly inflating until my head looks like a thumb.
Dad bods. I can join you on the dad bods. It's fine. I can sympathise with this.
Yeah,
no problem.
all for it.
And then joining me just to my left is Mod Cam,
Yo.
Mod Mike, and of course Mod Kelpie. So we have a fair bit to go through. Just before we get into it, of course, I just want to mention if you haven't checked out the game update from yesterday, which was the PVM Revitalization Week as part of the Ninja themed month of game jam updates they've been doing. This is the final one for March. They've done an amazing job. That's now out along with the incense burners and of course the fire spirits update as well that came with it. So a really bumper updates that came with that. Personal favourite of mine was the freedom camera mode that the ninjas did. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Good Reddit post about that.
I love that. And also, as I know, of course, RuneScape as always will be fired out at the end. That will give you a random parcel from the parcels to the hedges content from small all the way up to huge if you're very lucky. So best of luck for that. So I want to kick this off. Right now I have just to my left, as I mentioned, Mod Cam and Mod Mike. And essentially going into the Valkyries team section. So before we get into things, I just want to make a note. If you refresh RuneScape.com, there's now going to be a news post live. While you guys digest that news post, I mean, we can now talk about that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's relation to Vic, the portable trader. So can we kind of go into it, I guess?
Yeah, so this is a new service that we're trialling out in April. So this is going to come, I think it's the day after the bank holiday, isn't it? The 23rd.
23rd, yes.
So this is a new service that we want to introduce to the game, which is a paid service using bonds, and it allows players to summon Vic the Trader at times when it's convenient for them. So the reason we're doing this, in the past, a lot of people have told us they've got unused bonus XP and skills that they don't need it and stuff like that. And this came, a lot off the back of some of the things we've done with Treasure Hunter, and they wanted an outlet for that. So we had to think about what's the best way we can do that. So we've kind of made Vic into a kind of convenient, portable form. So yeah, there's details of how it all works in the news posts. Mod Cam's probably got a bit more detail about what the mechanics of it are.
Yeah, sure. So it's pretty simple. It's going to kind of work the same way you do with any kind of bond redemption type thing. So once you have a bond in your inventory, you can then redeem it, which will open up the interface, and from that you'll be able to get a summoning stone. And using the summoning stone, you can summon Vic, which would basically work exactly the same way Vic the Trader does, but it'll be the portable trader. Is kind of the name we've dubbed it at the moment. It'll be slightly boosted on your first use, so it's kind of like an extra reward for using the service. But this doesn't interfere with any plans we have to run the free Vic.
So Vic will still come back.
Vic will still come back. Yeah, still be available. This is just for players who
want to get rid of that.
have like a dying need to burn through some XP now, some bonus XP
now. So I do want to mention obviously that. We're going to be keeping an eye out on the topic itself. So in the news post, there will be a link to the Discord server with a specific channel. Some of these guys will actually be in the channel itself for the next week or so to keep an eye out on that, and they'll try and respond where possible. Obviously, during work times, they're going to be doing other things, but they'll try and drop in where possible, obviously, to answer that. So just wanted to make that clear as well. So, by all means, jump in that Discord channel and let us get involved in the discussion. Also, a note about free-to-plays. I believe the first time they can use Vic in free-to-play as well.
It is, that's true. Yeah, so free-to-play can access it as well.
Yeah, it'll only be for the free-to-play specific.
So the free-to-play specific items, what they can get onto.
But yeah,
okay,
they can also now access the service.
So, we mentioned this the first time we got like this bonds, using bonds for something. Is this something we're going to start looking at more in the future?
Yeah, we've wanted to do more stuff with bonds for a while now. Last year we spent a lot of time talking to players about the monetization in the game, particularly with off the back of some of the things that happened with Treasure Hunter. We wanted to explore alternatives, and we've tried various sort of experiments, but this year we want to have a focus on things that players are comfortable with, at a kind of service level, that you can use bonds, so it can be either earned or paid for. And if they're successful, then we'll reintroduce them as permanent options. So it's worth pointing out with the Vic thing, this is going to be for a 4-week period to start off with. And then, like we said, if it's popular, then we'll bring it back permanently. And then over time, if these things work and we see an improvement, then it might mean we can, because we become quite dependent on Treasure Hunter, and we know that players have had concerns about that, and we want to deal with it. So this is one of the first steps that we're making to tackle that.
So does Solomon's kind of factor in as well? Like, as of late, we've run the competition where we added the fairy drink and stuff like that. So do we see more SGS stuff coming in?
Yeah, and I think we're going to look at new ways of getting that content into the game, and especially with how to access that stuff on mobile. There'll be some changes that we're making later in the year. So some exciting stuff going to happen there.
Awesome. I just want to touch upon ideas for things such as Double XP Weekend. Do we want to? Do we want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, I think there's a new type of weekend that we're planning in May. Is it? It's going to happen in May. So who wants to talk about the mechanics of that one?
Just passing it over.
Yeah.
Oh my. We like the idea of taking the Voice of Seren effects that you've got from Elf City and kind of applying it to the whole game world. So the idea that you would have certain skills or certain kind of categories of skills in focus at a given time, which might mean there's increased XP, maybe increased kind of almost Winter Weekend style buffs, that kind of thing. But in certain hours or certain time periods, and then it moves over to another. And that means we hopefully will get lots of people who are jack of all trading, like moving from one skill to another over the course of the day. And the aim being that it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a bit of variety as well, isn't it?
Social. If it's takes over to like mining or whatever, and then everyone's in the mining caverns or whatever, and all chatting to each other as they mine, and then they will move on to agility or
yes, these are skills.
I know skills.
I mean, I really like the idea of like waiting for that hour, that time period to tick over. Presumably, you get some sort of message, and then everyone's like, just like Zuboa.
I think it's you can reduce it, but there's a similar overlay. There's what you get 12 cities, so game wide. Hopefully get people going.
So you mentioned obviously kind of in the same vein as like Winter Weekends. Is this kind of like the replacement as it is, or is it a trial?
Yeah, it's a trial. I mean, Winter Weekends are still really cool. I still love them. Still how I do most of my Slayer. But like, it's just trying out like keeping things fresh. Like, if you want to do something new that weekend, pop in, play.
I love the community aspect behind it personally. I mean, like Calpy touched on it. I just think it's really cool that you could all just meet up and focus on one specific category of a skill or whatever, and just go do that, and then go to another one. No, I think it's really awesome. I love that. Should we talk about the aura sale? We've been obviously mentioning it in between, so just a bit of detailing on the aura sale and what we can expect with that.
Yeah, sure thing. So I think this was for the January sales. We did an aura sale where we did sort of like a flat discount on tier 4 and 5 auras, as well as a couple of tier 3 ones as well. And there, a couple of questions came from that, sort of relating to loyalty point rework and aura rework and that kind of stuff. And some players were saying, is this what that is? Whereas actually, I mean, basically, I think at the time we just wanted to do something nice that we knew that we could do right away. And so for me, in my power at the time, all I could, I knew that I could do, with the power in my hand was I could make an aura sale happen. Yeah, no, you're welcome. So we let players know in advance that it was happening, so you'd have time to build it up, and then we'd do like a blanket discount, and it was pretty popular. We had huge engagement with it, so I said, let's do it again. Rework is still having regular discussions about it. But until then, this is just something that we can do in the meantime.
So a nice way to kind of even because there's acknowledgement obviously of how high or how much you've got to wait to get to those auras. So a way to kind of shave down the time.
Absolutely. Just wanted to get them in players' hands quicker until we have like a proper permanent solution.
Awesome. Okay. From what I've got here, I think we managed to touch upon everything, being quite efficient in going through them, which I'm very happy with. But I mean, if there's anything I might have missed, by all means. But I think the most important thing is to read the news post definitely that just went live for sure.
Yeah.
In relation to the portable trader, Vic portable trader, and again, as I mentioned, we have that Discord channel where Mike and Cam and others will be in there, getting involved in discussions and stuff. So, please do that for sure. But yes, I know you. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's going to be interesting to hear what people think. We're going to try out some new things this year, so we're going to experiment with sort of various things throughout the year. So. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think works, what doesn't work, and we'll take it and see what we can do.
I think it's exciting that we're doing new stuff, really.
I think so.
Just to try it and everything. It's awesome. Okay, well, I know you've got to get going as well, Cam. Sorry.
I'm going to stick
You're
around.
going to stick around? Yeah, of course. All right, let's get Oswald to scoot over.
This is it. Will the microphone go that far? I'm waiting for the tug.
I'm just waiting. Yeah, I got you. There you go. Excellent. Alrighty. Okay, so just before we dive into where we'll likely get Osborne helping Mike more involved, just on a section on player support. I was hoping to get a representative of the player support operations team on. They, unfortunately, none of them were able to make it for the time. So just going to rattle off a couple of things here. So I just want to make a very good point. First of all, the player support blog that went out last week, please give that a read on the website. As we mentioned in that message, we're going to be looking to do 4 development blogs. That'll be across both old school and RuneScape. And in a overview, they're going to be focusing on upgrading our systems, account security, recovering lost items, challenging myths about customer support and toxicity in game. But also we're going to be using surveys, and something we've done a lot more this year is a lot more survey-driven stuff. So we're going to use this as a chance to get in touch with you all and get us feedback from those surveys. And they wanted me to mention that yes, you guys have heard this all before, but nothing's happening. But you haven't heard it like this. I think that's safe to say. It's plans. These guys really want to do it, and like the player support guys are really going hardcore on trying to get stuff sorted because they know how much you guys are passionate about good player support. So very important to keep that in mind. And one other point I want to mention is in relation to the toxicity. So what do we mean by toxicity? Which is in the early days of RuneScape, you could say the most basic things, again, muted and stuff. Now it's a lot more open, I guess, in that sense. But at the same time, we want to find out what you guys consider to be toxic so we can help address that. What's an unfun environment when you talk to people and see nonsense being said and stuff like that. And also, as a final note, with those blogs we're releasing, we're going to be hoping to get one member of the player support team on to kind of go into detail on those blogs so you guys can see that progress as well. So there's a lot more openness in that regard from these guys, which is very exciting. All right, I rambled on a bit there. Next up, let's jump into RuneScape Mobile and the impact on PC development. So a couple of questions to rattle off here, so I think it's very important to hammer home on this. Some mobile updates have affected the experience desktop users have in-game. Is there more of a plan to stop this happening as much?
Well, we've been talking about that a lot today, actually. So there will be things that we're trying to tackle that will have an impact on desktop, but we're trying to be really careful with that, with things that change the way people play the game. So if there's anything that's going to impact sort of systems and the way people are used to doing things, then we'll be very careful to get that in front of people to have a look at first. And we'll talk about it rather than just drop it in the game. And so where that's happened, we should sort of hold our hands up and say sorry. That's unintentional. But there are lots of changes happening. Because cramming a whole complex game like RuneScape into a mobile is a huge challenge. So just kind of bear with us.
But at the same time, if there are some changes that we've made on mobile that aren't on desktop and you really like them, please do do let us know. Because I think there is some awesome stuff, and we do want to make sure that we're not upsetting the kind of desktop experience, but we're also fairly confident that these will actually be some things that players want on desktop as well.
I mean, if we look at some of the stuff that's come out on mobile, it's actually helped on the desktop experience. I mean, you had the looting interface update where it's now coloured on desktop according to the value you get and the loot value. And of course, on mobile, that's more detailed, but that's just one little thing, and you go from there. And these are the little things that kind of add up as well. So, I mean, it's this stuff like that, which is, I think, awesome to have and very important to highlight. We've had this question many a time before, but what is the status on iOS for mobile?
What do you want to know?
Well, we will. The intention is to have both Android and iOS versions at launch, so that will happen. In terms of when we'll have the first versions to test on iOS, I can't give dates yet, but it's in development. It's coming along really well. It looks really good. So, it's exciting stuff. But in terms of when, it's a bit early to say yet because there's still loads of work to do.
It's one of the scenarios where obviously if we could shout about it, we would. I mean, there's no reason for us to keep something like that quiet because we know the appeal for that. But it's about getting to that point, I guess. And now that
Soon TM.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, hopefully it's not running throughout the
No. Yeah.
today, but it will be a bit.
And now that the beta cap has been raised for Android, what are the next steps for RuneScape on Android?
Sorry, I was being asked to look here by someone on the thing, so
What?
I missed the question.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
We'll talk about Bank Rework later on, by the way. We'll talk about Bank
Yeah,
Rework later on.
we will get to Bank
that.
Rework later.
Yeah, most of the stuff that's been worked on at the moment is around the user interface and tackling the challenges of that on mobile. So still, lots of work happening. There's so much of the game that needs to be looked at to work well on mobile. So that's where most of our attention is at the moment.
I mean, it's an 18-year-old game.
Yeah.
It's massive in regards to everything that's in there. You have content still in the game from 2004, for example, then has to be polished up and everything else. Kelby, just to bring you up to speed, the question was next steps for RuneScape on Android, basically.
Cool.
But I think, what's actually really exciting is it's bringing about some new stuff in terms of how it looks and how it feels, and just making the whole thing feel a bit more alive and more modern, and in a respectful way. So it's not like we're going to change it so you don't recognise it, but it will kind of bring it to make it exciting for new players who are going to see it for the first time. So it's cool.
Cool. All right, let's get on to some general stuff. I've got a note added to my script just now, which is about you guys saying a lot about Stone Spirit in the chat, and I mean the best thing I can say is to reiterate what I said on stream last week, which is the design itself is in the works. I had a message that I read out just as the stream ended last Tuesday, so it was good timing. But yes, the design is in the works, and we don't want to say we're going to be doing X, Y, and Z unless it's absolutely certain, because I mean that would not help in any way whatsoever. But yes, the topic is there and it is acknowledged, but that's about as baseline as I can be on that one for now.
I believe Modjack is on Discord talking about
Yes.
the mining and smithing
Yeah.
channel. So if you have got an opinion on it, I think he's aired some of the potential design solutions on there.
Cool. Okay. First question we got. What are you doing to try and accommodate the new player experience?
A lot. I think it's fair to say we're over definitely the rest of this year we're going to be focusing on a lot. Especially in lead up to the full commercial launch of mobile. We're hoping that you will get brand new audience, mobile audience, and it's definitely something we're addressing. I think you'll see changes throughout the year, iterations, improvements to the first time user experience.
Yeah, it's about what do players see on that first day of playing the game, and what is it that makes them come back the next day. So that's the thing we really need to crack, is get people back the second day and then take it from there. So we're putting a lot of attention on what happens that early part of the game, and how the flow works, and how do you teach people how to play RuneScape? It's just,
the
take it for granted.
The other important part of that is actually representing RuneScape as the game. I think we've kind of sometimes felt in the many kinds of tutorials and stuff we've done in the past that maybe the tutorial is teaching players about a slightly different game, and then you release them into the big wide world of going on, and suddenly it's a case of what do I do?
That goes beyond the tutorial, doesn't it? It's not, it's what happens after that that's really important as well.
It's fair. I mean, if we look at recent in the last 6-9 months, I mean, Tutorial Island coming back in essence, whereas of course we used to have the old Ashdale quest, tutorial, but it's now of course Tutorial Island's one of those steps. It's definitely something to mention. What is your?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at. We've done a lot on tutorials in the past. Yeah. Our kind of next steps are to look beyond the tutorial, but we will, based on how well that goes, then we'll probably at some stage look back at tutorial. It very much depends on how we'll monitor new player progression through the game, and we'll make decisions based on that.
Yeah, I suppose how you look at it, I mean, Tutorial Island's a closed environment. You're obviously kind of forced on what you do, and then of course when you release them into the big bad wild of the game, it's like, oh, okay, this is, there's a lot to take in. Yeah. What is your strategy to bringing in new players to RuneScape? And okay, let's answer that question first. So, does that kind of tie into the first question, I guess, the opening game experience, really?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of bringing players in, I mean, once someone actually joins the game, we're trying to make the best experience possible for them. I think most people know that there's a number of issues there. So we're looking to improve on that. We'll be very much looking at new player progression, I said, and maybe doing A/B tests and stuff there and testing it out and making changes and iterating upon that. Obviously, for us, kind of like mobile is a very big kind of, hey, we're opening the game out to a new platform, so we're hoping to opening the game to a big new audience there. So that is a big kind of like milestone for us of like we really want to get the new player experience kind of top notch in time for then. Yeah. So we're working towards that. So that's kind of, I guess, that's a big kind of like goal. But all those changes aren't just for mobile; they're for desktop as well. So we expect to see, the improvements will be for both platforms. We expect to see like new players coming into desktop having a much nicer experience as well.
And what will the company do if mobile doesn't attract as many new players as hoped?
Well, I think with that, we're pretty confident because when you look at the launch of Old School and how well that's done, we've got really good data on how that's performed. And, all the indicators are that we will, see a good number of new players incoming. So, we're really confident based on how Old School's performed, and we're hoping with RuneScape, it's going to do even better. So, yeah.
Awesome. Maybe a question for you here, Osborne. When will we receive news about the summer update or the upcoming Kerapac and Jazz Quest teased at RuneFest?
So 2 questions.
Yeah, double barrel.
Summer update, you might be surprised to hear that we have got something planned, but we don't have.
They'll be released in the summer.
Exactly. They'll be released in the summer. And we want to pick the right time to talk about it, and the time isn't now. It's sexy. It'll have its own time, its own platform.
Oh, I've missed you on these streams, holy moly.
Yeah, it's a wee bit. We're very excited about it. But I'm sure there'll be all the kind of Road to X, to get you excited and things like that. But what's the second part of the question?
The upcoming Kerapac and Jazz Quest.
The Lord Council is still really interested in telling stories about Jazz and Kerapac. We haven't got anything kind of in the works for them yet, but we have got kind of core series stories to tell in the near future. So yeah, keep an eye out.
Awesome. Is there any update? I mean, very open-ended question this, but is there any update to the game tick system in the works?
I mean, if players are expecting us to completely rewrite the tick system, that's not going to happen. That's a huge technical thing, and it would completely change what is RuneScape really. However, we would like to look into improving the kind of
like the
how do you put it? The response,
there's things that can be done there with the game engine that can improve that, so it feels a bit slicker and more responsive. But you wouldn't want to mess with any of the timings of anything because it just has impact on so many parts of the game.
You don't want RuneScape FPS? No. 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 Okay.
But that's still a massive thing, and it's it is something we'd like to do, but that doesn't don't expect. Just don't expect.
Fair. I mean, no, I think that's fair.
Get t-shirts made.
Do a Darkscape FPS.
With the mining spiff and rework being one of the most well-liked updates in recent memory, do you have any plans to rework and update more dilapidated skills such as construction?
Plans or
plans?
It's definitely a big talking point.
I mean, if you look at this from a more open-ended question, has it given us like inspiration to look at other skills?
I think we definitely a lot of time went into mining and smithing, and so you have to, when we look at, hey, do we rework other stuff? And it's not just skills. There's other content in the game that we can we look at rework, and it's definitely a big consideration when we're making plans on what should we work on next, what should we prioritize against hundreds of other ideas that we got. So yes, it's definitely a consideration. We haven't planned, as of at this time, there's nothing in the plans to actually do that. There's maybe some other little bits, there's some other areas like complicate, like that's an area that we're looking to kind of rework, modernise a bit.
Fire making stuff was an aim to make fire making just worth training, give you milestones. And we've got plans for that, similar categories of stuff that's not maybe as big as 2 skills, which mining and smithing effectively was. But I mean, it's not just about skills. And there's other stuff.
And it might not even be about reworking the skill entirely, but as you mentioned, it could just be about finding
certain
ways to
parts
improve it. Yeah,
and we've definitely got things that are coming out that are doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for me, like personally, my eyes were a bit opened by mining and smithing. I think there was a certain thing that I expected from mining and smithing, which was, good sentiment. Maybe some people popping back in and then leaving again afterwards just to see what was there, make their own opinions, that kind of thing. And it definitely did more than that. And I think that was a bit of an eye-opener. We didn't expect much from it necessarily. It was huge. It was great. And I love what it's done to the community.
Awesome. At RuneFest 2017, you announced you would be working on community-centric updates with concept art of clans in the background. Any update on this?
I guess we always, again, keep in mind community-centric stuff in what we're doing. We like to, where possible, build social experiences. As for clans, we do have some smaller stuff coming out in the near future.
Do you want to? Is this where you want to pipe up?
Or we can wait until Friday when we have videos and stuff like that.
A month ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the better time.
So we'll leave it to that.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to hear a lot in these big question live streams from myself at least. It's always going to be, there's a lot of ideas out there. There's a lot of things we can do, and we have to prioritize them against each other. And I've loved to do all these things, but we can't do everything, and so we have to continue to prioritize certain things against others. And the other thing is, I don't want to create expectations that we're going to do stuff.
You probably noticed we've done that a bit more.
We've done that a lot over the years. We go to RuneFest, we talk about, hey, here's all our grand ideas, or we do them just live streams like this.
That's why I'm not allowed out of the box anymore.
Oh, come on now.
We talk about these ideas, and then even if they're just us, you put one kind of little suggestion and stuff, they gain some traction, and it's good to see. On one hand, it's good to see what people are interested in, but then sometimes these things turn into expectations that we're actually going to deliver that, and that's what I want to kind of not create those expectations.
No, I think that's we dug ourselves into a hole in the past with expectations of X, Y, and Z coming out. So I think that's much more sensible in that sense. Managing those expectations of, yes, you can actually look forward to this, and yes, it's going to happen. Not, yes, you can look forward to this. Oh wait, no, it's being pushed back, or it's not happening, or so on.
And there's a number of things that are going on behind the scenes, but we don't really want to actually talk about them until we're actually know they're pretty much done, and we can confident that they are actually getting released, because there have been times when we've worked on stuff and we've got excited about it and we've started talking about it. Like Bank Rework is a very big example of that. We get excited about it and we tell everyone, hey, this is coming. Suddenly we hit some big technical issue that we can't actually resolve.
The biggest
we weren't aware about, and we have to backtrack, start over again, and then.
The friction point that we're still trying to kind of get into a nice sweet spot about is that there are certain things we want to show everybody, but talk about. We want to show everybody design documents, get on Discord, that kind of thing. It's complicate reworks, and to be honest, that's why we talked about Bank Rework earlier.
Yeah.
Was because we wanted player feedback on it, because it's a change to core gameplay and systems. It's what you like. So we need to find the right space for that. Those are the danger projects.
Yeah. And also giving them enough space to be done, really well. So mining and smithing is a great example. We took the time, make sure we get it right, and I think there's so many of these ones that are really, really big. That if they're rushed and we get it wrong, then it's a real problem. So we've got to pick the right ones, do them the right way, and talk about them when we've got something really solid to talk about.
It's a recent example, but it's nowhere near in the scale of mining smithing. But originally we were going to release Incense Burners last Monday, but we had last minute issues and it wasn't the polish it needed there, and obviously then we've released it this week, and that's just an example of that. So being confident enough to push back if we're not happy with it initially, I think. So I think that's important to
make that irregular.
Yeah.
We need to get ahead of ourselves.
So we obviously mentioned Bank Rework a few bits there. Should we jump onto the Bank Rework section now, I guess, to rattle these off while we're on the topic? Okay. Last Bank Rework outrage resulted in you guys stating a placeholder model was being tested. Whatever happened to this?
Well, we have been doing stuff, as I was kind of saying. There is stuff going on behind the scenes, but I don't want to. I know this is not the answer people particularly want to hear, but we really don't want to talk about it, because Bank Rework has burnt us several times in the past, And as I was just saying, like it's the big example of where we've got confident and we've talked about it, and then we've hit technical hurdles, and more times than players realize, we've actually taken a couple steps forwards and went, yes, this is going to happen, and then bam, and you're like, crap, and you have to kind of like almost like restart again. So I don't want to create, like, as I said, I don't want to create expectations. I don't want to create excitement for something that then might not happen. So we're continuing to work on it. It's not on any shelf. I've got shelves. I've got on those shelves. We've got plants. We've got all your board games, but there's no bank rework on the shelf. We are working on it.
Definitely not shelf.
There you go.
But like really, like we're not going to say anything until like this is an update that I've said right from the start that we would put through a beta because it's quite dangerous. When you're working with bank stuff, you would put through a beta first of all, and make sure we're confident it's stress tested with hundreds of players and stuff like that.
I like that you said you didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like,
I think it shows like the passion.
But we would do that, and basically, we wouldn't actually come out and say we're ready, we're working on it, it's going to happen until we're actually ready to announce a beta. And right now, there's no beta scheduled, so don't expect any.
I mean, to your point of a beta with the banks, I mean, the reason why the miners beta happened mainly, like a core part of it was because of all the work with banks in there, where we didn't want, obviously, one issue to happen with the bank whatsoever, because if it did, then there'd be massive problems. So, you know, to Kelpie's point, yes, very important that, you know, if the bank rework happens, that, you know, it would absolutely be beta because we won't ever want to imagine you guys logging in and losing all of your valuable bank slots, for sure. Are we, one more question on the bank rework topic. Are you planning to ever increase the player's save file size so we could get maybe more bank space or action bars or bank presets and so on?
I'm not really a technical person, but I think not all those things are linked to save space and stuff.
We have done this though, haven't we? We did it last year, and there were some extra bank boosters and stuff like that. So
yeah, we focused a little bit on items as well that save space. Admittedly, that's not bank space. I know that people don't necessarily consider it the same thing, but you know, it is helping.
It's all stuff that we're aware of that people want, we want ourselves.
For a lot of the technical issues is actually on the amount of time it takes to open the bank.
Yeah.
Probably, and it's just because loading each of those items, it's not quite as efficient as it should be or could be. So there's a deal of work to make sure that that doesn't, you know, overload. Sorry, I'm not very technical, so I'm using the wrong terms, but you get the idea.
And that kind of is part of the reason why we have problems with working with the bank stuff is, hey, we've got a possible way of doing something, but actually it makes things less efficient, and therefore we have problems.
If we look at, obviously, the last time the bank was updated was when we added the Django and costume room stuff to there, and I know that was tough because obviously that what there was to do, and obviously what it comes down to is the efficiency of it. And if you look at bank space, it's why we have stuff like the barn update we released recently for player-owned farms as an alternative to storing it.
Yeah, we've got a couple more of those in the works.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go back to general stuff. Do you think RuneScape will ever rework the wilderness?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, there are different. To be honest, like there are two very. There's one big group who just wants us to reclaim it in some way because there's a lot of space that could be used. Another passionate minority group who just really wants us to get it right for once. I think that we haven't got anything active at the moment about how to resolve that, but we're currently chatting about it a little bit. About what we might do. There are things that I like. You know, I'm championing things like big fan of safe PvP. I think that suits RuneScape. I'm a big fan of opt-in PvP, like World Event, Bird and the Beast.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, the idea that you know, you could set a flag, but we could maybe use the wilderness for those who haven't opted for PvP. I love Darkscape. You know, I love game modes and servers that dedicate to PvP. But it might be that we kind of play around with rule sets or do something there. I know that there's actually. Something I wanted to wear, something Mod Hunter's been pitching, which is a wilderness death rework. So rework to the mechanics of what happens when you die.
Okay.
So I'd love to wear it, just kind of give you feedback or whatever on Reddit, etc. and Discord. Is that I've got to get this right now. That death in the wilderness would mean that you would drop the amount of gold that you would have to pay to reclaim your items.
So instead of dropping the items, it looks at the value cost of reclaim and drops that as a coin.
So when you cross into the wilderness, you'd have to have that gold on you.
Okay.
You'd have to have that amount on you, otherwise you wouldn't be able to participate in PvP. effectively that. So a player who dies would effectively lose their items twice. So that's pretty heavy penalty. So it still gives that sense of hazard. But love people's thoughts or ideas on that.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to like that idea. Don't they?
And no.
Some no's, but I've seen that there is a lot more yeses.
It's going to play to different groups. There's so many different groups.
I think what we could do here is, I'm sure Mod Hunter won't mind me saying this, is when that post goes out, maybe I'll get him to pop onto that post and maybe explain it in full, just in case. So I assume, I have no doubt you probably summarised it fine, but I think it's important just in case.
There are going to be nuances and exceptions to that, and I definitely, haven't.
Okay, I'll see what I can do for that. That'll be interesting. That sounds really awesome, though, actually. Are there any plans to bring popular old-school updates to RuneScape, such as their construction additions they've made, or how their bank works, or even Fossil Island?
So no to Fossil Island, but construction updates. There's some really nice stuff that they've done with kind of moving rooms.
Yes.
In particular, a lot of the kind of the benefits themselves we have in other places in our game. Like the teleporting. But like moving the rooms, the problem is that, as you probably expect, it's simpler in old school. So to do that takes a huge amount of work and would likely come with a full construction rework, which isn't off the cards.
Okay, so just to clarify, the reason why it's simpler is because, of course, they haven't had the POH editions that have come into RuneScape since 2007.
We're a victim of our own release schedule in that sense. And also, to be honest, it's the same answer for bank. We've given so many benefits and perks and things like that, and so many additional items, obviously that's what it is. But that makes the placeholder system that OSRS has got far more difficult, in fact impossible to implement for RuneScape. We have to take a different route.
Cool. Are there any plans to remove more minigames like mobilising armies?
I want to kind of throw it open, personally. Like, mobilising armies felt like it was a clear, get rid of it. I know there are a couple of champions of it, but I'd love to know if there's any other mini-games that people feel passionately like that really needs to go. Like, is Great Old Project really, kind of absolutely trouble brewing? Does that have absolutely, can that go? Regardless, it's certainly an option, because I think that we're going to become braver to take out things that aren't, certainly with kind of new players coming in, and the benefits that might bring. We're going to get braver about taking out things that just don't work.
I would put Conquest in there, if you want me to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Personally.
It's tough. There are some people who've got a perfectly valid argument that it's not hurting anyone. Conquest isn't hurting anyone, but it's noisy. A lot of people go to it and might just play it and think that, it's not fun. There's rewards locked behind them. Some people are boosting them, which doesn't look great.
I may be wrong. I mean, the chat will correct me. I'm pretty sure Conquest is, in the current comp cape stuff we have, Conquest is tied into Trim Comp, I think. Yeah. I may be wrong, though. So, which might be a reason why it's frustrating as well.
Yeah, I am obviously very aware of the Trim Comp and Comp. That's why Comp Cape Rework is in there. But when I'm thinking about noisy, bad mini games, often it's more towards the kind of newer players. But I would love to make mini games worthwhile with more of a kind of blanket update. The idea of, I'd love a minigame hub. I would. That's a deal of work.
I know.
It's got to get prioritised. It's got to get prioritised against other stuff, but also making minigames rewarding, make it easier to get groups and stuff like that. But it's got to come against other stuff.
Cool. Wow, I was about to read that question, and JD's just taken it off. He's put it right at the bottom. Okay. I was about to answer, and then he's just highlighted it, deleted it, put it at the bottom. I guess it's going to be one of the last questions we ask. Are there any specific plans to add the woodcutting and hunter-related skill outfits in-game for invention?
Yes.
Yes. I think we sat on a couple of, sat on them for a bit, waiting for the right update to put them with. I think, less of a concern.
Cool. Last year you asked players about their feeling on raising summoning to 120. Is this something that's still considered?
Still on the backlog. Hasn't been removed.
Yeah, I mean, all these sort of things are considerations.
I'd love to. Oh, sorry. I'd love to do 120, but also change it from pouchscape. It's not just, that's not necessarily how you train it, or maybe that's not how you train it from 99 to 120.
So infusing pouches, do you mean?
Yeah, bring out a 99 to 120 with a bit of a summoning rework at the same time. Like using your pet, your familiars, is the way to train it. Just seems so sensible to me. Such a shame it's not that.
When are we getting some sort of combat style diversity update? Presumably this question was asked, of course, because of what was shown at Game Jam. So yeah.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I don't want to be mob no. So
yes.
We are doing
Yes.
something.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, we are going to be looking into it. Time frame wise, it's not going to be like next couple months. It is another one of those updates where we would want to do a beta as well.
Okay.
So that'll be along at some point. So you obviously like the balancing of that. We want to make sure it's right. Get feedback on that stuff. Make sure stuff is worthwhile. Because if we're adding niches to different weapons, and then the feedback is that actually, why the hell would I ever use a mace? Then we'd want to like.
Well, there's a lot of issues
and stuff.
There's a lot of issues that could crop up from from changing significantly the styles of how certain weapon types work and everything else. So I think a beta sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I think it'd be awesome.
So we'll have one of those at some point.
Yeah. So watch this space, particularly about the kind of getting involved with the designs. I think that'll be obviously that'll be sooner than the actual launch.
Awesome. Sometimes he gets rid of questions as I read them. I don't know why he does that. The completion escape rework has been a controversial topic over the last few weeks, and many players feel that while the feedback may change the slight details, the core design that we've come up with isn't subject to change. How true is that?
It's not true. So it's actually in a critical point. So we have agreed as a team, we sat together, that it's not endangered necessarily, but there are two core things that need to be resolved. One is it's too complex, and another is there are a lot of people who don't feel like it's solving problems that need to be solved. Obviously, those two are connected. So what we're going to do is we're going to put out a video blog. So we're going to strip it all down to the simplest elements, put out a video blog with just the core parts of what we're looking to do. Because really, there are only core things, like the stats on the cape, are particularly problematic for me. So if we can resolve those well, put it out there, we're going to survey it in-game. So in the same structure as that blog, and then it's make or break. If there are core elements that people don't want, if it's salvageable, then we'll put it out. But if there's a kind of fundamental kind of turn against it, then we'll ditch it. So yeah, substantial changes could well be made.
Cool. Are there any plans to release a strictly solo boss within the next 12 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We tend to release bosses.
We make no secret about
within
our
that
cadence,
frequency, at least.
There's a couple of bosses every year. Seems to be kind of where we're at.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, Elite Dungeons has kind of muddied that a little bit. Like, how do they work with it? But by that frequency, yeah, it should be there. And the next one we want to do is probably solo. I won't say anymore.
Amazing. Okay, I won't lie, that excites me. Where does the game head towards once Tier 99 weaponry / armor is added? And to tail off that question, do we ever see combat skills going to 120?
We're a little way off that, actually, well, quite a way off going to those, because we're adding breadth. And I think that weapon diversity is going to be huge. Like, combat diversity really helps us in that these weapons will feel different. People will want those items, will want to be, trying out what a Warhammer does for once, that kind of thing. So that's going to be a big thing. We've also got other ideas for introducing breadth, which means that 99, is a few years off, I would say.
Well, here's the thing, and I need to preface this point a lot.
Yeah.
99 does not correspond to, it does not necessarily have to correspond to the level. We could make tier 120, that doesn't mean you need 120 to equip it. So just to clear up that assumption
they
that
could
you
require
assume
99 and something else, maybe.
Yes. So just so if, let's say, God knows when we release tier 105 armor, they're going to be like, oh, I need 105 defense to wear it. That might not necessarily be the point.
And you just got to be acutely aware that if players have this kind of gear, then they're going to need combat targets that suit it. Like, you don't want to just be chewing through Slayer mobs and getting to 99 in the space of a day. We've got to put in targets that make, that suit that, and that's a bit of work as well. Going to 120 in combat, that just boggles my mind. Just trying to think, each of the combat skills to 120, right, okay. Magic and Ranged as well, right, okay. All the content that goes with that, making those fill up, boggles my mind. So yeah.
It's a lot to think about, for sure. Why the hesitation to re-release the Majorat Aura?
Because we said we weren't going to, didn't we?
As a Premier Club exclusive, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it was aimed for a year. It was for Premier Club members.
We made no bones of that.
Yeah,
and it was also, it's a bit overpowered, and it's we felt that it was unbalancing the game, and we said we were going to remove
any kind
it.
of aura rework, we might reopen it. That might be a conversation we have.
Yeah,
it could come back in a different form, but for now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same reason why. I mean, I do notice that people mention Madrat, but they haven't mentioned their Desert Pantheons or their Dwarven Instincts and stuff like that. Those are other auras, and even Hellion, for example. These are auras, of course, that haven't been re-released. But those, I think the reason why Madrat is mentioned a lot is because people loved extra damage without having to suffer extra damage, i.e., not having a maniacal aura. So I assume that's why there's a shout for it.
Yeah. Combat auras and all of that we need to resolve. And the price of, and accessibility of, and factoring into optimal combat.
Okay, I think we're mistaken.
What?
So some people have it and they can still use it.
Yeah. So the Premier Club members, if you still have it, you can still use it, but it's just
in a reduced.
So could it be released for players who didn't get Premier Club but can get the aura? Which I guess is a whole different topic in its own right.
That's it. I mean, let's leave that to a bigger job on auras.
Sure.
To resolve that.
Okay. 1 year ago, in exactly the same month, you shared survey results about potential updates, brackets without promises. Considering you've already released a good amount of previously polled content, like Quest Point Shop, Player on Farm, among others, since then, have your priorities changed a lot, or are some of those remaining ideas still on your to-do list?
If you look at what we've got upcoming, which you can't because we haven't told you about it, you'll see that there's a lot of familiarity there, like a lot of stuff that has been on our, we've talked about for a while. So it's not as if they're all new, jazzy, going off in new directions. There's some good, legacy, not in that sense, but legacy RuneScape stuff, things we promised. So that doesn't stop the fact that we could do with refreshing the backlog. I think an annual survey or more kind of, we've been doing kind of more directed surveys recently, more survey work like that, maybe build a backlog polls. We still could do with refreshing the backlog a bit. So we may be talking to you guys soon.
What are the next steps in the 5-year skilling plan, and what is the stance on high intensity skilling? Will it get any more interesting than clicking X amount of ticks, for example, mining and Hall of Memories?
Yes.
Yeah,
we got. I can think of a particular update that really does nail this.
Okay.
But it's interesting seeing the journey of the 5-year skilling plan, in particular with the intensity, because some of the first things we did, Fishing Frenzy. Thank you. Fishing Frenzy's flawed. It's the least played of all the content in there because it's that kind of. It doesn't hit the sweet spot at all. It hits the bitter spot between kind of intensity and boredom or grinding, and it was a bad mix. And then we go to kind of Hall of Memories, which is kind of half getting it right, still elements that still, again, sit in that spot. But then you get things like Rocketunities and a lot of what mining and smithing does, and I think we're getting it right. A little bit of strategy, but we're pushing the boat out, and there's going to be something that's truly innovative in that space in the next 3 or 4 months. So kind of watch out for it.
I think Fishing Frenzy suffers from a reward factor as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, of course you get better XP an hour, but is the effort versus reward worth it in that sense? I think that's what
right.
kind of hurts
I think
it as well.
You're absolutely right. We're coming to terms with our balancing triangle, which isn't a triangle because it's probably a hexagon actually. There's so many different elements to it. But you really have to have almost exponential reward if you are super intensive, but not much gratification for being that as you play it.
Cool. When do we see the Java clients going away?
Hopefully sometime soon. I think I answered questions on this fairly recently. It is something we're wanting to close for good. We're getting there. We've been monitoring ever since NXT the amount of users who are using Java. There's still a small percentage, but it's
really small.
It's now a point where we don't have a date, but it's going to happen sometime soon.
Okay.
We want to be nice to those who are still using Java and try and get them moving over to NXT in a nice way, I guess. Making sure we find out what their issues are. Trying to address those if they're still. We've got some engine updates that hopefully improve some of this as well coming up fairly soon. But there becomes a point where there's some players who are not moving over, and it might be because they're. I don't know why. Hopefully we'll find that out. But some of it might be just that they're just can't be bothered, or not doing it until they're forced to do it. So at some point we will have to just actually kind of force people over. But it's the effort compared to the amount of people still using it, sort of thing. So we're near at that point now where it's kind of like we're definitely in the closing stages.
I think it's important to mention, obviously, what we'll be able to do with NXT once, of course, Java is gone as well. Because you have to, a very important thing to consider is that some people forget is the content, because Java is still supported, we still have to make content that works in Java, which can be a bit of a hamper on certain things. Like sometimes we do something in NXT, we then have to make a specific change to make it work in Java and stuff like that.
We try and take care of stuff in Java as well, but we don't really support it anymore. So that's been the case for a while now. So
it's like the same reason why we got rid of the compat. Because it was HTML and HTML5.
Yeah, HTML5.
Which we didn't. Nothing else touched. So it's kind of like every time we change something that might change chat or something like that, we'd have to do those changes, and no one's really looking at HTML5. So it's kind of like a pain in the ass.
Can't wait to remove these things that are just slowing down our development and our ability to produce things. It's going to be great.
So you guys said shortly after the deathtouch start promo, you'd be discussing sign refreshes and deathtouch starts being abused at Telos. What happened in that meeting you said you had?
I love the tone of that question.
Very
so accusatory. I've actually got a yes answer to this, which is lovely. So I do believe that it's in QA, the deathtouch starts on Telos.
It is.
That's right. I don't think he went out with this game update.
Nope.
Right, okay. So that is imminent, which is great. And the Science of Life, I believe this is only outside banks.
So essentially the issue is I'm at Telos, I miss hold still, and I use my sign of life, and then I can quickly use it and get another sign of life ready in the middle of my kill.
That's it. So that has been picked up. I can't remember. They had a fight over who wanted to do it. It's either Mod Ramen or Mod Pie.
Ramen.
Oh, Ramen won, did he? I'm surprised, actually. In that fight, I would have...
Well, I mean, not literal fight in a sense.
Oh, I mean, I'm imagining it now. I can't stop, but I would imagine I would win that. But yeah, that's being done. So not necessarily as imminent, but soon TM.
You owe me 10 quid for that fight.
But yeah, you could televise that. Who wouldn't? Game last.
Oh man. So I think an important thing to mention to those points is comms will go out ahead of time. Like I want to make sure the comms got ahead of time for these changes.
Yes.
I mean, they're important enough where we should probably give them a heads up. Yes, it's coming on, let's say.
That is a cracking point because, I love my drama calendar and the Divomatic.
So if exactly. So you mentioned Divomatic, let's take a step back. So obviously this issue as a baseline came from the fact that when the Divomatic change was released, we didn't inform players ahead of time, give them the visibility and stuff like that. So obviously as we acknowledged that we were going to do better at stuff that's considered contentious, we're going to let them know ahead of time. I think this is an
You're
example
smack
of
on. You're exactly right. And this is part of it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, just wanted to make that point clear. Do we see a player name cleanup plan, a player name cleanup happening anytime soon at all?
No.
Okay.
It's not been something that we've discussed.
No.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah, there are issues with the last, and I think that there's a slight orientation. I mean, it may still happen in future, but there's slight orientation towards, there'll be a lot of people coming back to reclaim their accounts, particularly with mobile. So you've got to be aware of that.
Awesome. Is there any info regarding new items getting added to the rare item token store?
We've been talking about it, haven't we? Yeah. So nothing definite, but yeah, I think it's probably due a bit of refresh, isn't it? So.
And a couple of last questions. These are very baseline questions from the chat that we've managed to pull where possible. Is there any news on Group Ironman at all?
What do I say? What do I say?
It's in the same space as Bank Rework.
Yeah, right. Where we don't want
almost all the answers are the same.
I mean, it's yeah.
I mean,
there you go. You answered it without even saying no once. Brilliant.
It's
the answer's not a no. It's not a no.
It's not on the shelf.
It's not on the shelf. Yeah, it's one of those updates where we're not about to release it. So
yeah, of course.
What's positive? Sorry, I don't know if I can say this, but what's positive is that Old School also want it.
Yeah.
And Old School are or are looking for engine changes that will help, precipitate that, and that helps us as well.
And and if we release
some of the things
we're
that are in
probably
the
going to
way,
release it at the same time.
It makes complete sense to do that as well. I mean, if both games want to do that.
In this case, we can actually do it hand in hand.
Awesome. Would it be possible to add the option to change the font size of text, I presume, for people on high-resolution monitors?
I need to... Sorry, I saw the question in the chat. As far as I am aware, it is still something that is on our backlog. As part of like doing mobile stuff, this is one of those kind of mobile benefits. We've had to like look at chat like font sizes. I haven't been working close enough to know what the current status of that is.
Yeah, there is work happening.
But I do remember someone asking me fairly recently, being like, you're still wanting this and stuff, and I was like, this is definitely something we want, sort of thing. And it's not, I know it's like, for people with like bad eyesight and stuff, it would be really beneficial, but it's also kind of beneficial as technology moves on, and everyone's got their big 4K monitors and stuff that interface scaling, all that would be nice and stuff like that. So, I'm sorry, I'm not sure where the priority lies.
It's fair.
For it.
Whatever happened to the idea of a skill-in type boss?
Oh, that sounds nice. It's something that surfaced multiple times in the polls, wasn't it?
Yes.
Skilling boss.
In the survey, as in not promised, but as a, what are your thoughts on
It was kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride, wasn't it? It was,
it's always like, how is it something more than evil tree? Like, bossing, you're staking all your armor, like the wealth that you're wearing or your gear and stuff, right? And
but nothing in the works at the moment. Sorry.
It's fine. Do we see any more graphical reworks happening at all?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll.
I can think of a few.
I think the approach we're kind of taking with kind of graphical reworks. I talked about this last time, I think, is that we're looking at kind of our asset production and improving our assets, because over the years with RuneScape and slowly improving graphics over time, what that's led to is you've got like 400 different types of chair, like 15,000 types of barrels, ridiculous number of tables. Like every time we come to an update, we go, okay, we're new house, and we'll create a new table and create new chairs to go in that house and stuff. As a result, we've got all these assets, and what we're looking to do is actually get rid of them all and have it so we've got some base assets that you can still add variations to, but it also means that when you're graphically updating one asset, it updates them across the world, sort of thing. So we're looking into that, better asset management, and that would, whilst it kind of, I guess, slows down the reworks at this stage, it means in the future it'd be a lot more efficient. But having said that, there is an area that's getting graphically reworked at this moment. I'm not going to tell you what.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
very nice. Are there any plans for a 120 or virtual skills cape?
No, there isn't a plan, but it can be a consideration, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
virtual.
There was. I think it was Legend Arts created one.
I want to say so. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Like an awesome one. I seem to remember like floating lit elements on the top. Sorry, lit as in candles. But like,
very cliche?
I'm not doing a kind of anyway. But it was really good. One of the concerns we had was whether or not that's saying these are the goalposts that we expect people to go for now. So there's that concern.
Yeah, if you add a cape, I guess, as a thing, it's like, I have to get it now. Has it got
perks on it? Has it got additional perks? Even just having something cosmetic, is that too much of a nod towards it? So yeah, that's where it is. I think if the community turn to us and say, you know what, we're all right about it, we're all right, then I'll be all over it. Just take basically that concept and do it.
Awesome. Okay, that will literally take us, literally to 6 o'clock, and I think we've gone through a fair amount, like stuff that from a what's going on kind of thing. I think it's very important we've addressed them. I think I'm very happy that we've been able to do that. So unless there's anything you guys want to mention or see anything in the chat very quickly that you want to address, then I think we can get
no spring fair.
No spring fair.
No spring fair this year.
Cool.
Sorry, no, just.
That's fine. No, I mean, if you say anything, just rattle it off. But otherwise, I'll probably get ready to wrap this up here.
Character rework. It's still the case. That's it's something we want to do, but it's a much larger process in terms of updating all our kind of like tools and stuff with art, so that we can. We were using our old tools for a very long time, and they weren't really industry standard. We're making sure we're like much more industry standard, using Maya and such, and then once we've kind of done all the tools work, it means that we can do a big character work.
Women hands,
broken knees, the horrible like female knee,
funny arms,
where it works.
Yeah, indeed.
Aren't they?
Can't wait for it. Love it.
Yeah, and hopefully it means like, I mean, I guess I shouldn't set expectations, but I'm saying it. But hopefully it means like you can have better facial expressions, more customization. With that side, something a bit more industry standard.
Easter is coming. But people are asking if there's going to be Easter content. So Easter is coming.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes without saying. Obviously, as always, final Friday of the month ahead. Then definitely keep an eye out for the month ahead on Friday, because that, of course, dive into what you can expect for April, which is very exciting.
And there's no April Fool's content. I saw that go up. No April Fool's.
No April Fool's.
No April Fool's.
Too busy, I'm afraid.
Oh. I miss the old April Fool's content. Okay, that's fine.
Bring back camels.
Okay, so what do we have? Okay, I think apart from that, we're going to wrap it up here, but thank you guys so much for joining us on this and being able to answer the stuff where we need, the stuff that
cheers for having us. Thanks for having us back.
Well, it's lovely to have you back on the stream for a while.
I know.
Thank you, Mike. I haven't had you on the stream in a long time. What? What was that? Did you actually make a compliment to me?
A little bit. I've been saving it up.
Yeah, that's it.
9 months worth.
That's it. Now clean slate, back to normal.
Didn't even hear it.
No,
love it.
The one time you said something nice, and I didn't even address it or hear it. Okay, so I think that'll do it, everyone. But we've addressed as much as we can. I do want to mention, of course, news post on the RuneScape.com, which goes into what we addressed at the start of the stream, which is Victor Portable Trader. Do read that. Do join the Discord channel we have set up, as Mike, Cam, and others are going to be in the Discord channel, trying to get involved in discussions where possible. And apart from that, as always, we'll send out the LootScape at the end of the stream, and we'll keep an eye out for the TLDW stuff that goes up, and we'll start replying where possible. But apart from that, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. As always, take care and have a good one.
Love you.